one of the most bitter pills I swallow is my brother's death made me the man I am today.
Yeah.
My brother is the person, or the catalyst, if you will, that made me now help hundreds of thousands of people. We have suicide admittals every week. Everything I do stems from my brother's death, and that's horrible.
Before we get started, I want to know one thing that you do every morning that sets your day.
Tell myself it's going to be a good day.
Love that. Plain and simple.
Yeah.
You lost your brother, John Joe, at a really young age. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so it was 2013 was his first attack.
Yeah.
Bit of a crazy one. Our relationship was, on the brink really because of what he was getting up to.
Yeah.
Heavy substance of, smoking weed, stuff like that. It just changed the way he was as a person.
Kind of common in teens.
Yeah, it is. It all promotes the same psychological effects,
Yeah.
Depression, anxiety, suicide. But he still had a heart of gold.
Yeah.
And, he was always my brother, and I grew up with him my entire life, obviously. So, I was there the day he was born, every single holiday. So it was only the last, 2 years of his life we really fell out a little bit. But then, I used to dwell on that, but now that I've got a lot older and wiser, amount of people I meet that say, we fell out with my brother much worse than what you did, and now we're best friends. But we never had that opportunity. So so he was stabbed in 2013 at 24 times with a machete. Wow. And then due to circumstances, I ended up being in the ambulance with him. Yeah. So that was quite crazy, seeing your little brother, whether you were having arguments with him or not, because of difficult times.
That little bit there, how did it feel being in that ambulance there?
At the time, it's a bit surreal because you don't think anything's going to come of that. At the time, you think, in my head, I remember thinking, oh, he's definitely dead. His leg was held on with a belt. Yeah. Part of his arm was, pretty much hanging off. Spine was fractured. Injuries to his back. And when you hear the sound, when you hear the noise, 24 stab wounds, it's like, whoa. Yeah. So in that brief moment, what happens is what everyone thinks he don't have, and that's fight or flight, and it kicks in. I remember going screaming to the police officer, you'll drive faster.
Trying to get out of that situation.
Help him. You're gonna be all right. Mum's on the way. Stuff like that. Just the normal stuff that actually kicks in when stuff like this happens. We get to the hospital. And then obviously you stood in the hospital thinking, whoa, what is going on here? And then you're thinking, oh God, I don't want to see my mum. Yeah. Then your mum comes in. So it's uncontrollable line of events. Yeah. So obviously then you sat with your mum, aren't you? She's on about God, it's very fuzzy. Because obviously it was a number of years ago.
Yeah, it was a long time ago
10 years ago. Yeah. But she was talking about, she wants him back, take my life instead of his, all the stuff that a good woman would say.
Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean? And you're thinking, what's his dad going to think? What's our friends going to think? And then it's just horrible. But at that brief time, in that line of that moment, if you will, you don't really think about any of it because your brain's just going, woof, woof,
You're in the moment, aren't you?
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. And then paramedic runs in with a clipboard with a surgeon and says, Miss Highton, Mr. Highton. So, okay, well, John Joe's pulled through. And we was just like...
That must have been a complete reverse of emotions.
Yeah. It was because everyone, there were loads of people there, and everyone just, you could see it, everyone was like, yes. Yeah. It was amazing. And
then fast forward us now to the following year, if I'm right.
Yeah, so the following year, then he turned 18. And in that timeline as well, our relationship honestly started to heal. Yeah. No matter what anyone thinks. I remember actually my mum ringing me on numerous occasions saying oh, he's letting me take him to Blackpool. And she'll just ring me and go, what the hell, he's been nice. Yeah. And then the conversations went from her panicking about him going to school or getting involved in this and X, Y, and Z turned to positivity. Yeah. I remember, it's quite a personal conversation my mum had with John Joe when he was when he woke up from surgery and stuff like that, and I can't really remember what he said because it's one question I've never really asked my mum. I've just never asked her what he said, but along the lines of he was scared of dying, he didn't want to die. He was in immense pain.
Yeah, it gave him kind of a different feeling and wanting to be out of that type of situation.
You'd like to think so, but I think that's what he said. And still to this day, I don't think I'm going to ask my mum. I think that's personal to her.
Yeah.
But yeah, he changed. It was crazy. I remember bumping into police officers and I was like, "Oh, you're John Joe's brother." I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Bloody hell, he's changed him, hasn't he?"
Yeah.
And then people started to say the same.
So he really tried. He did it
yeah.
as well.
And then I remember when my mum rang me and said he got a job, and I was like, "Whoa!" I mean, the guy's got like 24 machete injuries.
Yeah.
So
how do you work? Yeah.
He started, doing bits of labouring here, there, and there. But it's the step of becoming an adult.
Yeah.
And then he started going to the pub. So yeah, things like started to change, and that I felt like a weight was lifted off my shoulder.
Yeah.
And then it was finally, I was like, after 2 long years of arguing with him, telling him to stop being bad, go to school, stop smoking so much weed, stop doing this. And I became public enemy number 1.
Yeah.
But that's Big Brother's job.
100%.
And then, but some people don't see it that way. It's like, well, what do you want me to do? Yeah, all right, smoke weed.
Yeah, we take the hits because.
Yeah, all right, do that.
Yeah.
No, the people who told him to do that and that made it acceptable, they were the problem.
Yeah, it's tough love. Isn't it? And we all need
Same
that
with my
tough
mum.
love.
He fell out with my mum, but my mum, what kind of mother will go, yeah, smoke weed?
Yeah.
No, my mum was brutal. She would tell him straight. So,
so we got
a year passed.
Yeah, a year passed.
And then
now,
my mum drove up a street after finishing work early to spy on him.
Hey, what good mum wouldn't?
I know, my dad used to do it, and I can't even tell you what he used to say to me. So she came up the street, she randomly bumped into him, and she didn't know at that point he'd just been home. So he dumped all his work clothes in front of the washing machine. Cheeky get.
Typical young lad.
Yeah. And she went, "Take your jacket off, it's hot."
Yeah.
And he turned it and he smiled at her. And she smiled and drove off. And I remember her actually ringing me saying, "He dropped his clothes, I feel, little idiot." And they were laughing. I was like, "Yeah, where's he gone?" She said, "I don't know. Probably at pub." So he went to the pub and he stayed there till about, the timeline, it's quite sketchy. Again, it's 10 years, but it was about 11:35, I think it was.
Yeah.
But then a couple of days before, the day before, again, it's very fuzzy. Some of his friends, they didn't mean to do anything. They didn't mean for it to go this far.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? A part of the healing process is having the bigger picture.
Yeah.
Sometimes people do things and they don't realise what the consequences will be.
Absolutely.
So they robbed someone from a rival group who they had problems with. They then went to the person's house, attacked a woman, and X, Y, and Z. And you can imagine what messages were being sent, stuff like that. Of course. And then as JJ was in the pub, this group of lads and girls were in the cars driving around, hunting down specific people. Yeah. But as fate would be, being stabbed 24 times the year before, JJ left the pub. Yeah. He walked up to the top of the street, started getting manhunted down. He chased him down. God, you read so many different takes of this, like hitting him with bricks, throwing stuff at him, hitting him with a golf club. He managed to fight some of them off.
So they used him. They attacked him because...
Yeah, guilty by association. One of the main laws that the JJFEC can make life kind, we promote in schools, because it's not just about the law, it's about the physical effects that can have actually on your life.
Yeah, of course.
So, hunted him down like a dog, and literally one of his famous last words were, "Can we just talk, bro?" Yeah. And he got hit so hard in the neck, causing catastrophic damage to both main arteries. And he bled out in 45 seconds. And then it was a few months later we realised that an injury of that extent was decapitation.
Yeah.
So,
which is crazy to think such a word is used in
I know you don't think
area.
of England, Britain. You think of like war, don't you, and stuff like that. Yeah. So
it just shows the severity of
how bad it was, and then obviously that night I remember getting the same type of phone call. It's happened again. I went to the hospital, and every single ambulance that pulled up, we was there for about an hour, and every ambulance that pulled up was like, "Yeah, he's here." No, he's not here. Yeah, he's here. No, he's not here. And then really, really slowly, this cop car pulled up. Undercover cop car, but you could definitely tell it was a cop car. Yeah. Guy got out in a suit, took us into this room with a fish tank. You'll know what's coming when you go in a room with a fish tank.
Yeah, if you watch any shows, it's
reality.
Exactly.
Yeah, Grey's Anatomy, a fish tank, someone's dead.
100%.
And then you walk into this room and he comes in and he just says, "Really sorry, he didn't make it, he died at the scene." So then we had to go obviously in that moment, like, you know, my mum then, she just collapsed.
Yeah, of
you know,
course.
I think at that point I realised how bad crying can be, because my jaw was sore, my like eyes were sore, my belly was sore.
Yeah.
You start to get a stitch, you're crying so much, other people are screaming. It's just, imagine being in a room with people screaming like that.
Yeah,
There's no words that can put that into perspective.
And you're trying to make, you know, sense of the situation that you're in.
Yeah.
But all you've got is outside noise, and that must be difficult in itself.
It's mad. Honestly, it's crazy. I can still hear them now.
Yeah.
So then it gets worse. We then went back to where we live to get my mum some clothes, which was, I imagine that screaming continuing.
Yeah.
And as we pulled up outside our childhood home, we grew up on that street together from the age, you know, very pretty much when we were both babies. And you could see from around the corner just immense flashing lights, and everyone was on the street. And then I just said, I have to do it. So my mum followed behind, about 10 meters behind, with my partner at the time. Yeah. It was raining, but it was very fine rain, so we was literally soaked wet through. Yeah. And I walked up to the police tape, and they could just see me coming to police, so they just sort of surrounded the tape and said, Byron, you're not going. And I said, let me say bye to him, and I looked, and you could just see blood. Wow. And then obviously his body was in the ambulance by then. Yeah. And we had to say bye to the ambulance. That's what we got.
And that's frightening, that situation. Obviously he changed his life, but, you know, being guilty by association was what affected him. Yeah. Now talk to me about the feelings and emotions that you have now when you think of that situation, and how does it affect you on day-to-day life?
I mean, that situation right now is a part of my history. Yeah. You know, and one of the most bitter pills I swallow is my brother's death made me the man I am today. Yeah. My brother is the person, or the catalyst, if you will, that made me now help hundreds of thousands of people. We have suicide admittals every week. Everything I do stems from my brother's death, and that's horrible. Yeah. That is horrible. I've got to live with that. Yeah. And I never thought this had become a job. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? I literally never thought I'd ever be a knife crime team. Never even come into my mindset.
But now you've, you know, because of that death, unfortunately, you've now, you know, you're able to inspire people, and you're able to talk about, you know, struggles that you go through. Yeah. What daily struggles do you go through that you know, maybe we can talk about or understand?
I think the worst one is it's obviously PTSD, but the PTSD is just a name for many different chemical imbalances that you have after extreme trauma.
Before you say PTSD, for our listeners who may not be aware, what is PTSD?
Post-traumatic stress disorder. So it's basically just a chemical imbalance, too much chemicals in your brain, which cause damage that's irreversible. Yeah. And I'm medicated now for the rest of my life on it. Yeah. So every single night I've got to take my PTSD medication. Sometimes my PTSD medication needs to be increased. Sometimes it needs to be decreased, because it has other effects as well on my life. You know, if you take too much of it, it makes me feel better for a certain amount of time, and then I crash, so I have to come down. And that's ongoing. That's ongoing. Yeah. But like, as I said, PTSD is just a name for it. You know, the effects on my life are paranoia. You know, it's weird. I'm in a difficult situation, because I remember when I first did my first ever counselling session, and I remember at the end, I remember at the end of this session, the guy went, "God, you are lucky to have such a mad personality." And I went, "What do you mean?" He went, because obviously I'm a very born and bred, very proud chav.
And we love that, yes, you know, about you. Know what I mean? Remember, always be yourself. Always be proud of who you are.
Yeah. So I was born, and the doctor looked at my mum and went, "I'm sorry, Tracy. This guy's a chav,
Listen,
man."
I was born. Doctors looked at me. Well,
so, you know. So TNs, tattoos. You know.
You're not got any tattoos, have you?
Yeah. No, I'm fully covered. You know what I mean? So I've always been like this sort of persona, and that personality dragged me through what I went through. I didn't notice that. I call them the building blocks of life. You don't know what there's things you do today will affect the next block, and 100%. So on and so on and so on.
Absolutely.
So what the difficult situation I'm in is people look at me and they get a different image, and at times I've bumped into people and they go, "Oh my God,
stereotype."
Yeah, you're not
out there.
You're not the person I thought you were. And I'm like, what do you mean? I've got people buy me drinks. Your class are amazing. People who didn't like me then buy me drinks and going, "God, you helped my son or daughter in in school, wow, you are sick actually. And I'm like, scratching my head going, I'm just a chav, like, and I've just managed to create this new version of a talk that's never been done before that helps people. So I am proud of myself for doing it.
Yeah, and you should be, so rightly so as well. And when you talk about, you know, this version of yourself, and because obviously you take medication for PTSD, but surely that's not the only thing that helps, right?
No, definitely not. Like that's what I'm leading up to now. So when my brother was killed, we was at home, and a police officer who's a very good friend of mine now just looked at me straight in the face. My mum's screaming still, everyone's crying, my nana's crying. And he went, Byron, go to the gym, mate. And I went, no. He went, go to the gym. So I went to the gym. And I'll never forget, a friend of mine was in there, and no one would come next to me in the gym. Everyone knew. It was horrible. I feel like everyone was staring at me.
People are very conscious.
So my friend came over, gave me a hug, he was crying, and he just walked off. And it was the most horrible, painful gym session I've ever been through. But I did it. Then I went the next day. Then I went the next day. Then I went twice the next day. Then I went 3 times the next day.
It gets addictive.
And then I remember at some points 2-3 weeks had passed, and I'd forget my brother was dead. It was mad. Honestly, it was crazy. In that time, I didn't think that was a positive. I just thought I was just dragging myself through life.
Do you think now that was focus, maybe hyper-focus?
Well, they say that motivation, focus, dedication is not what you think it is. It's doing something you don't like doing every day. Then it becomes a positive impact on your life. So, God, I'm 24. I didn't realise that. Do you know what I mean? I'm still...
Then, you mean?
Yeah, then,
Just clarify, you know, we're a bit old.
At that point, we're getting old now. So, at that point in my life, I just thought I was dragging myself through. And then every day brought something new. Oh, your brother did this. That happened to your brother. Ha, ha, ha. Facebook post. Someone laughing.
Social media playing a real effect now.
Someone sending me videos of people having their heads chopped off and saying, ha, ha, this is your brother. Constantly. For, you know, on and off for years. And it's very rare now, but it still does happen. And then eventually, I become a semi-pro bodybuilder. And I was like, whoa, so I'm going to dedicate this to my brother. I won one show. Then I became Mr. Southport. Then I won NABBA. Then I got a phone call saying, we're going to give the Inspiration to Sport Award. And I was like, why? And
so this has all gone from not wanting to really be in the gym, but then being told, you should go in the gym.
If I don't go to the gym now, I actually feel dirty.
Like, and do you know what? It's that's a great bit of advice to those young people watching, because, you know, exercise really does help. You know, of course, if you've got to medicate, you've got to medicate too. But I think it's topping up and adding up to that.
Topping up. Do something that makes you happy. I don't care if you draw, if you sing, you rap, you want to be a YouTuber or whatever it is. If that one thing brings enjoyment into your life, that's releasing a chemical called serotonin, which is good for you. Do you know what I mean?
We all need it.
And we need it. So. And I was like, why would you want to give me this award? And he went, do you know how many bodybuilders have told me that they're bodybuild because of you? And I'm like, what are you talking about?
You don't realise the reality of,
I'm like, nah, mate, you're having a laugh. So anyway, rings me. I get the award on stage, and I'm crying my eyes out, and then these really well-known bodybuilders from Preston are all standing up, clapping and stuff. And I'm like, this is mad. And I walked backstage, and I met a lad who's my mate now, and he's funny. He's all brown, like...
Oh, the way they do that, when they put all that extra
he's got
on.
Y fronts on. He looks like Arnie. We're all like ripped. He's like giving me a hug. He's like, mate, you inspire me. And I was like, this is crazy.
How does that feel when someone says to you, you inspire me?
I think people think that, for me, again, it might be different for you, but for me, I think people think that I take it the wrong way because, again, a part of the way I look, because I've always been like this. I've always looked after myself. Since I was a kid, I've always been very conscious of the way I look. I've always been I want to look nice. I mean,
and when I feel good, right?
I feel good,
absolutely.
When I was a kid, between the ages of like 14 and like 17, 18, I had very bad acne. It just come out of nowhere. So it really knocked my confidence. But then when it cleared up and I started to become a different person, and I felt the way people treat you differently, I was like, wow, man, you treat people like that when they've got spots.
That feeling is unmatched. Like, absolutely.
Don't you feel you go into school and you're like, everyone's laughing at me? And I was quite lucky, so very popular. I had loads of friends, but still knowing that if I ever had beef with someone or an argue with someone, they go, oh, shut up, Spotty. It was horrible.
So and that's what we see a lot, you know.
Bullying in schools, it happens whenever I see a kid who's got acne in school. I always God, it was what? was it last week or the week before, some kid, and I went, mate, don't worry about your acne. I said, trust me, it'll be gone and you'll forget about it. Look after yourself, moisturise, do things that I know. Oh, nice one, sir.
If any cream companies want to promote us right now,
look at my perfect skin.
This is how and I moisturize every day. I'm not going to pull out the cream that I've got. But,
Byron and Lottie's buttercream.
And you know what's funny is because kids don't realize the little things that they can do, and young people, if I would
have moisturized when I was a kid, it would have never happened.
Yeah.
But then later on in life, obviously, then that sort of made me again who I am.
Yeah.
So when people say that I inspired them and stuff like that, people probably instantly think that it makes me have a big head, but it actually doesn't. It doesn't cringe me. It hurts me.
Yeah.
I won't say cringe because nothing positive that anyone says to me, I'm going to be offended by, because that's lovely.
And I think it's the situation that it's come from, where it stemmed from. The fact that you had to lose somebody to get to that.
One of the things I have people say, which probably one of the main things that which really hurts me, and I've never said this on any. You are the first podcast I've said this on. Is I've had people say that I get paid for doing my job and it's wrong, and I'd be like, yeah, but I'm the busiest, one of the busiest. Some of the police officers said I'm the busiest narco teacher that's ever existed in the country.
Yeah, and I think
I've made the first talk of its actual kind in the country, and I do it full time.
And we say all the time, like the fact that you get paid for doing that, you're trying to make a difference.
Yeah,
so that should never really come into it. So
I never asked for this job.
Yeah.
I also never asked my brain to come up with this idea of making this new version of a talk. People seem to forget that in the first 2 years when the JJF first set up, the amount of arguments I'd have with school teachers going, you cannot come in our school doing that. The amount of police officers, I had loads of police officers on my side, but I still were friends with them that would say, there's a lot of police officers that say this ain't going to last.
Look at it now. Like, the fact is now, we're inspiring people, and it's great because the people that maybe didn't see the bigger picture at the time, definitely see it now.
Yeah.
And there's a statistics actually that frightens me, that in 2023 there was 50,000 offences with sharp instruments recorded, which is...
That's just the ones that are recorded.
That's just the one that are recorded, and that's frightening in itself. Now, talking about those young people that we do speak to and we do access and we speak to them in schools, what can you do to spot signs? How can they spot signs of people that may be involved in carrying knives?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's not always easy. Obviously, sometimes... last week we got like a 3-foot machete off a lad that you'd never think of carrying a knife. And his mum found it, and the excuse was that it was just for protection because he keeps getting jumped and people are threatening him and stuff like that. So the signs are always there, you know what I mean? But obviously, when it comes to protecting your life, let alone as a kid, I train even primary school kids the same as as I do the adults, bar the swearing, right? Because kids as young as 6, 7 need to know they can die, right? I know that's horrible to say that. Maybe in the 90s when I was a kid, we didn't need that, but we do now because the world's gone.
We need to be aware of what's around us.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, of course.
So the signs aren't always easy. But there is a lot of common sense involved in protecting someone.
Yeah.
If someone you hang around with, or your son or daughter is hanging around with people that is into this kind of stuff or abusing drugs and stuff like that, you then know that person could go down that line.
Yeah.
And I know that's bad saying that, but at the end of the day, as you know, there's that saying, isn't there? If you're hanging around with 5 people that are millionaires, eventually you'll become the 6th millionaire.
The mindset.
Yeah, mindset. If you hang around with someone who's smoking dramatic amount of weed, not knowing the actual psychological damage it does while your brain's growing, then you get anxiety, depression, suicide,
so many more problems.
Problems. And then they're all like, what's wrong with me? Oh, I hate society. F the government. And I'm like, bro, you've been smoking £100 worth of weed since you were 13.
Yeah, mate, that's gonna affect you.
That's a big battle I have in schools. Where I talk about weed in schools, everyone like sniggers and looks at me, and I'll go, that's fine. I'm not here to tell you not to smoke weed. What I'm here to tell you is,
but what I do want to say is, don't smoke it.
Yeah, you're all smart.
Yeah.
End of the day, your brain doesn't stop growing till you're 25. Yeah. Thereabouts. So if you're smoking a substance which affects the front cortex of your brain, where things like rational thinking, cognitive thinking behavior, personality traits, depression, suicide, anxiety, all this kind of stuff is actually controlled from, it's going to affect you.
Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think we both know people in our lives, even though we don't do it, people who smoke too much weed.
Absolutely.
And what the psychological effects that the majority of them have?
Definitely. It's always paranoia, depression.
It's the same.
And that's why it's important. Those young people need to, to look at who they're around, and we talk back about guilty by association. Yeah. That's really important because who you're around is going to, impact you in a certain way.
Yeah. And like I said, back to it's common sense, isn't it? So like
absolutely.
I say, it's all right saying, that person's definitely going to carry a knife, but again, another topic I train in schools is not to be afraid to be who you are.
Yeah.
I've never, ever, ever not been a chav, and I'm very successful. So I won't tell no one to...
Be proud.
Be proud, be proud of who you are. Don't let anyone tell you to be anything you don't want to be. You know what I mean? Be who you want to be, grow and adapt, and you'll become your better version of yourself. But then, at the same time, if I say this in schools, I say, look, you all know you're not allowed to discriminate, but right now, get a pen and paper out. Draw me someone that will stab you, and everyone will draw someone who looks like, I'm not going to mention the clothing brand that is dressed from one clothing brand. I'll say, what music listen to? They'll say the same type of music. I'll say, what drug are they all addicted to? Or using just to fit in. They'll say the same drug. What else are they smoking? Everyone will say the same thing.
So it seems to be like there's certain things that unfortunately are very much linked to the whole.
But then you've got to look at that. Let's say clothing brand, music, and what they're smoking, and the knives, the type of knives, right? Because don't forget, any knife can kill you. But when you've got 10-year-olds running around with ZKs and machetes and that, it's crazy, isn't it, right? Them 4 things we've just mentioned, companies earn billions off them.
Yeah. So it's coming up now to 10 years, unfortunately, since John Joe left us, I was taken.
Yeah.
I want to know, what do you think he would be thinking and saying, the little brother that he was, about you now, looking down at you? And that's a tough question because I don't think you've been asked that before.
No, I haven't. It's difficult because prior to, let's say, year 9 of high school, year 8, year 9 of high school, before he went off one path, he was onto another, which I'm not saying is bad. And some of his friends now are, oh my God, they're amazing, they're like family.
Yeah.
And they've gone off and used John Joe's death in their own way to inspire their lives. Some of his friends own businesses. A lot of them have got their own beautiful families, which is amazing. But if I was to look back at the brother that used to climb into my bed when he was scared of the dark, the brother that we used to go on holidays with, a lot of people don't even know this. My brother nearly died when he was a baby. He got run over and it crushed he nearly lost his entire leg. He didn't walk in. And I'll never forget slamming my back to the floor, and I was in hysterics on the front, crying my eyes out. My neighbours hugging me, saying he's going to be okay. So, if after he died there is a heaven, and then he's back to my normal brother, prior to all the brainwashing of dressing a certain way just because his mates were, and then they're doing the same because he is, and smoking the same drugs that everyone else is, just to fit that target audience that has all been brainwashed to earn his company's money. I do think he'd be very proud, and I think he'd be happy, and he's smiling, and he's up there partying. That's what I'd like to think. It's just difficult because, again, it's just horrible for me in this situation, and my mum. And a few other people who he probably fell out with, because of his lifestyle choices. But just being a teenager. Do you know what I mean? But obviously, with the catalyst of drugs and how bad culture is now from when I was a kid. It's horrible because we did fall out. You know what I mean? But we didn't fall out because I was bad to him. We fell out because we had to have fights, because he was being bad. He was really
trying to keep him on that path.
You know what I mean? I was like, what are you doing? It's mum, chill out. What are you doing? It's this. What are you doing? Go back to school. What you mean you've got someone pregnant? I was like, oh my God, you're a kid yourself, man. But no one else was saying stuff like this to him other than me and my mum. But that's normal.
You two were then seen as the
enemy.
The enemy. And I think looking back, and obviously, you should be proud of yourself, absolutely, because the impact that you're trying to make is going to be ongoing, and obviously this is just another anniversary. It's not just another anniversary, but it's the 10th anniversary, but it's going to be more, and you're going to be continuing to do that work, and it's really important to, like you are talking about it and talking to those young people about those important issues, definitely. Oh no, another question actually. If you had one piece of advice to give to young people that are watching, what would it be?
Don't be fake. Don't be brainwashed. It's honestly, when I go in schools and I train kids about in the certain parts about the brainwashing, I don't think I've ever been to a school yet where I can see in the Oaks Road going, whoa. Or like, what's the difference between a ZK and an e-cigarette? Or what? How can you compare them both? They can both kill you. Yeah. There's a company who made the zombie sword in another country who ships it over here knowing we've got a problem with children killing children. Yeah. Does he care if you get stabbed up? They all go, no. Yeah. The vape company, you're all smoking because it tastes nice and your mates are doing it. You get stage 4 lung cancer when you're 16, 17, you've just got your first dream job, you've worked your ass off at school, and then you get a cough, and then your doctor goes, how long have you been smoking vapes for? Well, smoke 3-4 of them a week. You know what I mean? And you're like, they're not bad for you. No. Well, you've got stage 4 lung cancer.
That's the information.
It's common sense. Yeah. It's easy. I don't tell kids not to listen to violent music because I did when I was a kid. At the end of the day, as long as you take your headphones out and you go, I only live once, or I might believe in a God, but I ain't risking it. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? You got to understand that if there is a God, brilliant, absolutely amazing, can't wait to meet him, and I don't care who that God is. Yeah. Right? As long as he opens with welcome arms, right? Yeah. End of the day, if you're going to say it's like a roulette machine, but let's just say it's just red and black. Black is there is a God, red there isn't. We don't know. So why on earth would anyone fall victim to risking that one chance you've got? Yeah. Because the only thing we do know is real is that we're here now.
So you're saying that it's important to live the life that we have. Yeah. Enjoy it. Be considerate of your choices because they can affect you.
We said this earlier, didn't we? It's like a lot of people think that being an adult, is always a case of a number attached to your age, right? Your age, 18, 19, 20, whatever it is, right? I meet 13-year-olds that make better adult decisions than some of my mates and some of the things that I did when I was a kid. Sometimes, if you just make enough positive steps in your life or positive or correct decisions in your life, you are already an adult. Absolutely. The problem is what separates mentally a young child from an adult? Life experience. Yeah. And they don't understand the consequences because they're young and not experienced the consequences yet. This is why I don't blame the government in certain respects, and I don't blame the police. It's the companies that literally look at that target audience of kids between 10, maybe even younger, up until 18, and they go, what are they into? They're into music that kills people. Let's employ more rappers that rap about selling crack and heroin and killing people.
We come in, we change the direction of people's thoughts, energies, etc. And it's real talk because we need to talk about these things. Now, I want to finish off with one quote that you live by.
One quote that I live by. Yeah. Being happy is a choice, so I choose to be happy.
I love that. Yeah. That is perfect.
I'm depressed, I'm suicidal, driving here today, every brief moment where it's quiet and the radio's on, my brain just goes, PTSD, hello? Yeah. And it goes, drive that car into that bridge, or it goes, oh, why are you doing this job? Oh, God, your mum. Oh, God, your brother's dead. Oh, someone's going to say something nasty. My phone goes off, bidding, and then my brain goes, oh, what if that's someone saying, hi, your brother died? Yeah, but it's been years. They won't do that now to me. Come on, I'm working my ass off. Everyone knows I'm a nice guy. I pride myself on being a nice guy, Byron. And that's the conversation my brain is having, but my eyes are focused on the road, and it's like I'm a passenger, and I've got love and hate or PTSD in my normal brain, and then,
and that is it.
I'm going to be happy.
I love that.
And I continue.
Definitely. Final words. Being happy is a choice. I choose to be happy. It's been real talks with Byron. It's been amazing listening to you and speaking to you about that.
Always a pleasure, mate. Always a pleasure. Honestly, I love it.
And let's keep, making a difference.
Let's keep making changing life the world, mate. Make life kind. JJ Fett, we're going to keep doing it. Yeah?
Amazing. Thank you, Byron.